Up next on Win News, the search for a missing miner on the west coast, a controversial development approved in the state's south, and the Hurricanes prepare for the Sydney Thunder. See you shortly.
Across Tasmania, this is Win News.
Tonight, a tense day on Tasmania's west coast as a rescue mission is launched to find a trapped miner. Pressure on the new Premier to improve child protection outcomes. And a contentious development on Hobart's eastern shore gets the go-ahead. Good evening. Welcome to Win News. I'm Lincoln Humphries. Also tonight, could a controversial politician be set for a comeback? And we catch up with a champion Tassie footballer. There are serious concerns tonight for a worker trapped underground at the Henty gold mine on the state's west coast. The alarm was raised early this morning and crews have spent the day doing everything they can to make contact with the missing miner. We'll take you to the west coast soon, but first, let's cross to Win reporter Meg Sides for the latest on this developing story. Meg, what's the most current information?
Well, Link, at this point, police held a presser around an hour ago. They say emergency response team descended into the mine and were able to get within what they think was around 50 metres of where the collapse happened. Unfortunately, during their search, they weren't able to find any signs of life, and they say they hold grave concerns for the man's safety. So at the moment, it's a case of hoping for the best but preparing for the worst. Now, emergency services are now sourcing more specialist equipment and will work with specialist engineers from the gold mine to formulate a plan to continue their search safely. It's also currently unclear of why the collapse happened, but the mine will remain closed until that cause is discovered. So it's been a tense day in the state's west, and our reporter Rebecca Morris is there covering the developing story.
The mine is located about 30 kilometres out of Queenstown and 50 kilometres from Rosebery. Rebecca Morris, Win News.
Concerning new data shows Tasmania has fallen behind the rest of the country when it comes to child protection. Figures from the Productivity Commission showing the state is by far the slowest in the nation for commencing investigations.
Unions say Tasmania's child protection system is falling behind.
The protection of children is probably one of the most important roles of government, and what we see today is that we are failing at-risk kids.
Residents against a hotel development on Hobart's eastern shore say they'll take on the proponent through a tribunal process. Council backed the contentious Rosny Hill Project 8 votes to 4, convinced by the economic upside.
A proposed $50 million 60-room accommodation precinct given the green light.
Former Braddon Liberal MP Adam Brooks isn't ruling out a return to Parliament after Premier Peter Gutwein said he's open to the idea. Brooks resigned from Parliament in February last year after his use of a private business email account while Resources Minister became the subject of an Integrity Commission investigation. The Premier says while ultimately the party will need to reach a decision together, he'd be keen to sit down for discussions with Brooks.
Would be a matter of party processes to run through. But I'd make the point that Mr Brooks was a very popular local member. He served his community and worked very hard, but we haven't had a discussion as yet.
The Premier is expected to announce a new cabinet as early as tomorrow. 3 people have been charged following a 3-day crime spree. The 35 offences relating to crimes allegedly committed spanning from Huonville to Bridgewater. The trio were arrested on the Bowen Bridge yesterday after police spiked their car in Lindisfarne. Police are calling for anyone with information or dashcam vision of a blue Mazda sedan being driven dangerously in the south of the state to contact Crime Stoppers. Hobart has lost its title as the country's most affordable capital city to buy a house, with new data showing the median house price is now more than $530,000, up 8.5% from September. The Domain House Price Report shows properties in Hobart could become more expensive than Perth and Adelaide in the coming months if the rapid rise continues. Up next on Win News, the campaign aimed at inspiring the next generation of whistleblowers, and meet the passionate Tasmanian making a very generous nautical offer. A 70-year-old skipper is on the hunt for a new captain, so a decades-old vessel doesn't have to be demolished. Mac Hoban has a degenerative disease, meaning he can no longer make repairs, but he wants to see the much-loved boat properly cared for.
This is the Burrawong 2. She's been ravaged by time, some parts dusty, others a little rusty. But for skipper Mac Hoban, beauty is in the eye of the beholder.
Sport time with Melissa Russell. Mel, Hurricanes fans will be cheering on a traditional foe tonight.
They will, Link, and for one night, all Canes fans are going to cheer on the Sixers. We'll hear from coach Adam Griffith next. And the Hawk turned Lion, loving life at his new club. The Hurricanes are bringing back 2 stars for their clash with the Sydney Thunder at home tomorrow night. Darcy Short returns from Australian duties, while a seasoned all-rounder has made a speedy recovery from injury.
Needing to pull off a perfect end to the season, the Hurricanes are turning to the man known as the finisher.
Champion Tasmanian footballer Grant Birchall is settling into life at his new club after making the move from Hawthorn to Brisbane. He's hoping he can stay injury-free this season and help the Lions build on their impressive 2019 season.
Grant Birchall hasn't changed footy clubs in almost 15 years.
A fresh start for me.
And Link, that is our Night in Sport.
Excellent, Mel. Thank you very much. Weather details now with Chris Polzot, and there's a bit of wet stuff around.
Thanks, Link. Yes, some much-needed showers for parts of the state. We'll look ahead to the weekend after the break. Welcome back. Well, it was all about the wind and rain today, and tonight's weather photos from my mate Peter. Peter has been doing incredible work fighting the fires this summer, and he snapped this lovely amber sunrise. Thanks, Peter, and thanks to all our very hard-working emergency crews keeping us safe. First, a look at that rainfall total in the 24 hours to 9 a.m. this morning. Lake Gwendy picked up 66 millimetres into the gauge, while 35 fell over at Strawn. On to the details now from today. Heavy rainfall easing into showers today, mainly for the north, but there is still a very slight chance of a thunderstorm in parts later this evening. 13 to start in Launceston, only climbing 1 degree higher by midday. Around the eastern Midlands, winds were pretty strong at St Helens. Winds gusted to 61 kilometres an hour. Let's go to the charts. A trough is expected to clear the state this evening. Tomorrow, a stationary high over the Bight will produce west to northwesterly winds over the state, with these winds expected to continue across the weekend. Now onto the waters in the north. Winds will be westerly through the day. In the east, we're looking at seas up to 3 metres. For the south, a swell getting up to 5 metres. And in the west, winds will be up to 30 knots. Now, a number of strong wind warnings do remain for the coastline tomorrow, so please do take care. On to the forecast for you now. More showers expected mainly about the west and in the north. Thunderstorms are also possible during the afternoon, and west to northwesterly winds will be strong and gusty through the day. For Swansea, 12 to 22 degrees, 22 as well there for Hobart. Interstate tomorrow, dusty in Alice Springs and sunshine for Perth. Looking at the days ahead for Burnie, showers getting a little lighter and lighter, clearing by early next week. For Launceston, bit of cloud about for the next few days. Temps will remain fairly cooler across the weekend. And for Hobart, partly cloudy conditions well into next week. Daytime maximums will hover in the low 20s next week as well. But that's all for weather tonight. Lincoln, back over to you.
Thank you so much, Chris. Have a good one. Thank you very much for your company. I hope you're having a good one as well. That's it for Win News till 6 tomorrow night on the telly. In the meantime, catch us online, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. We're right across the socials. Good night.
This has been a Win News presentation. Win News, Regional Australia's #1 news source.